Hello and welcome to another Tri-tutors video. In today's video we're going to be unpacking some important quotes from Act 4 of William Shakespeare's Othello. Please make sure that you watch the earlier videos on Acts 1 through 3 and also make sure that you have a look at the video on how to integrate quotes into a literature essay. Let's get started. Act 4, Scene 1. So Othello has been poisoned by Iago's thoughts now. He is absolutely sure that Desdemona is cheating on him, and he remarks she is protectress of her honor too. He's like, I don't understand how this could happen because if she is cheating on me, she's not only challenging my reputation, but she's actually challenging hers as well. She is putting her own reputation on the line. They have it very oft that have it not. Iago says this to Othello, and he basically is remarking on reputation, and he says, well, reputation is not entirely accurate. Some people have a good reputation and they don't deserve it, or some people have a bad reputation and they don't deserve it. First to be hanged and then to confess. Othello says he is so angry, he's like, first we will kill Cassio and then he can confess, which obviously doesn't make any realistic sense, but it just illustrates how angry he is at Cassio and Desdemona. A horned man's a monster and a beast. So Othello says this, and this is once again the theme of honor and reputation. And he says that a man who's been cheated on isn't a real man. He's almost like lost this sense of humanity because he has been cheated on. It's such a terrible thing to happen to a man's reputation. While you were overwhelmed with your grief, a passion most resulting such a man. Iago criticizes Othello here, and he says, you have been so embroiled in your grief, in your passion, that you've become sort of less of a man. This is not a manly thing to do, to showcase your depression or your grief in this way. For I will make him tell the tale anew. Iago says to Othello he's gonna provide even more proof that Cassio is having an affair with Desdemona. And so he says that he was going to call Cassio and ask him to tell the tale anew of how he got involved with Desdemona, and Othello will be listening in. And Iago's big plan is that obviously he's going to not talk to Cassio about Desdemona because that has never happened, but he is going to talk to Cassio about Bianca, and we have a quote later on which explains why he's chosen to talk about her. But once again, in terms of the theme of masculinity, Iago says, marry patience, or I shall say you are an all spleen and nothing of a man. He says to Othello, like, calm down, be rational, otherwise I'm going to think less of you as a man. When he hears of her, cannot refrain from the excess of laughter. So Iago says about Cassio because whenever Bianca is brought up in conversation, Cassio cannot act sort of reasonably. He starts laughing, he doesn't take her seriously, and he mocks her. And so by Iago asking Cassio about Bianca and Othello thinking it's Desdemona, he knows this is going to make Othello angry because Othello still does love Desdemona on some level. Unbookish jealousy must construe poor Cassio's smiles, gestures, and light behavior quite in the wrong. Iago says this plan's going to work because Othello is so jealous and so consumed by passion that he's going to misconstrue Cassio's jokes and smiles about Bianca. I would have him 9 years killing. Othello says this to Iago about Cassio. He's so angry, he's like, I wish I could kill him continuously for 9 years. Let her rot and perish and be damned tonight, for she shall not live. Othello says about Desdemona. He says he's going to kill her. She will not live past this night. He says, my heart is turned to stone. He's become completely this different person to the guy we met in Act 1. The world hath not a sweeter creature. So this is sort of the contradiction, is because he's still like, oh my gosh, she's this sweet creature, like she's this beautiful woman who I'm in love with, but he's so angry that he is very much set on killing her. He says, I will chop her into messes. So he sort of goes between, how can Cassio treat her this way? She is like this amazing person and she's this kind and obedient woman, but hold on a second, she cheated on me, I will chop her into messes. And here Iago gives Othello he gives him like suggestion on how to kill Desdemona. He says, do it not with poison, strangle her in her bed, even the bed she hath contaminated. So Iago says to Othello, don't poison her, rather strangle her in the bed that she has contaminated, meaning like the marital bed where she has compromised their marriage by sleeping with someone else. So this is sort of like a way to assert justice. Desdemona says to Othello, so once they meet up again, Othello strikes Desdemona and hits her, and Desdemona says, I've not deserved this. And this really showcases, I think, her sense of bravery or courage. Like, he's just hit her in front of all these people, and she's like, I have not deserved this. Like, I don't deserve your anger and your jealousy. Lodovico has come in because he's this messenger from Venice, and this is a very important quote in terms of reputation, because he sees Othello strike Desdemona and he says this would not be believed in Venice. He says Othello's reputation precedes him as being this honorable man of, reputable character, and if he told everyone what happened in Venice, no one would actually believe him because Othello's reputation is so strong. And so you can see how it calls into question this theme of reputation and all. Should we actually believe in reputation? Because clearly it's false. He says about Desdemona, like, truly an obedient lady, like, what did she ever do to deserve that? Is this the noble Moor whom our full senate calls in all sufficient? Is this the nature whom passion cannot shake? Lodovico says this, he's like, is this the same person who Venice and, the Duke and the Senate, who they trust so much to take care of this issue in Cyprus and to, to command this army? Because it seems like this guy is ruled by passion and not reason. So once again, that theme of reputation called into question. Act 4, Scene 2, Othello now confronts Emilia and asks her what her thoughts are. Has Desdemona been cheating on him? And Emilia stands up for Desdemona and says, I saw no harm. She is honest. For if she be not honest, chaste, and true, there's no man happy. The purest of their wives is foul as slander. If only Othello would listen to Emilia, because Emilia says there's absolutely no way she's cheating on you. If she is not honest, if she is not being faithful, then she says, then no, there's been like no happy marriage ever in the history of time, because that's how honest she is. She would never cheat on you. Desdemona says to Othello, I understand a fury in your words, but not the words. Sorry, it should be not know the words, but not the words. And Desdemona says to Othello, like, I understand that you're angry, but I don't understand why you're angry. I don't understand what you're telling me, because obviously she is innocent and she doesn't understand what why Othello is accusing her of this. Othello demands that she swear thou art honest. And she says, I am honest. And Othello responds, heaven truly knows that thou art false as hell. So he's become this completely different man, impeded by jealousy. O thou weed, who art so lovely, fair, and smells so sweet. Othello says to Desdemona, you're a weed who's pretending to be a flower, because you're coming across as sweet and innocent, but really you're evil. Would thou hadst never been born? And he says, I wish you had actually never been born. And he calls her an impudent strumpet. Desdemona says to Othello, she stands up for herself. She's like, by heaven, you do me wrong. Like, what is this? Like, you're accusing me of something absolutely bizarre. How come this trick upon him? Desdemona is so distraught after this interaction with Othello that she calls Emilia and Iago and asks for their advice. And Iago is so two-faced, and he's like, how can this trick come on him? Like, how did he start to think of this? How could he have believed such a crazy thing? And Emilia says this is some eternal villain. And she continues with her sort of idea. She's like, there must be this evil guy who's to try and get some office, have not devised this slander, who's trying to get some sort of promotion. So he's devised this sort of plan to slander Desdemona and to try and cause some trouble. The Moor is abused by some most villainous knave. So she says, obviously it's quite ironic, because she doesn't know that she's standing in front of him right now. It's her own husband Iago who is being abused, or who has abused Othello and made him, poisoned his ear with all of these lies. I do not find that thou dealt justly with me. So after this happens, Desdemona immediately leaves. Rodrigo comes in, and finally, like at last, long last, he sees that Iago has been manipulating him. Don't get too excited, because he's going to fall for Iago's manipulations again. But he's like, I don't think you have been dealing honestly with me. And this is a really nice quote. Your words and performances are no kin together. This is a really good one in terms of the theme of appearance versus reality. He says, what you say versus how you act don't match. I've wasted myself out of my means. Remember, Rodrigo has given Iago all of his money. He has no money left. So he's like, I've given you everything and you've not treated me fairly. You have not actually done what I've paid you to do. Scene 3. This is a conversation between Desdemona and Emilia as Desdemona is getting ready for bed. She says, mine eyes do itch, doth that bode weeping? She says, my eyes are sort of itching. Does that mean that I'm going to be crying later? So this is foreshadowing. Is a great price for a small vice. So now they're talking about having affairs, because obviously that's what Desdemona's been accused of. And Emilia says, well, maybe I would have an affair if it, suited my purposes. Desdemona says, beshrew me if I would do such a wrong for the whole world. She says, I would never ever cheat on my husband. Emilia says, it is their husbands' faults if wives do fall. Let husbands know that their wives have sense like them. She says that if a wife has an affair, or if there's unfaithfulness in a marriage, it's actually husbands' faults if their wives have an affair. And she says husbands should know that their wives are also human beings, that they also have sense like them. And then she has this wonderful quote. She says, and have not we affections, desires for sport and fragility, as men have? Then let them use us well, else let them know the ills we do, their ills instruct us so. Emilia says, don't men should notice that women are also human beings? Don't we have the same desires? Don't we have the same sort of dreams and aspirations? And by that margin, don't we also make mistakes? And she says, well, if we make mistakes, or if we do something wrong, then they should know it's because their actions have prompted us to do so, or we have sort of followed their lead, or how they have acted, and that's what has made us act in this sort of not in a bad way. The bad things we do are just things that we've learned from them. I hope that video was helpful. Please make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.